approved amendment included an increase of $3,750. The vote was unanimous. In closed session, the board took action to approve the terms of settlement agreement case number PSC 1903705 in the amount of $1,733.33. The vote was unanimous. Call for an adoption of the agenda. All in favor? Aye. Programs and presentations. Our first presentation will be winners from the 2019-2020 District Science Fair and Riverside County Science Fair, and then the 2020-2021 Virtual Science Fair updates.
Hello?
Hi, I'm calling for Mr. and Mrs. Tribby. This is Janine with the school district. You're on with the school board.
Yes.
All right, we're ready when you are.
Good evening. This award ceremony was to have taken place last year, but was abruptly postponed because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, let's begin. Welcome to our Palo Verde Unified School District and Riverside County Science Fair Awards Ceremony 2019-2020, which means that we will first announce the winners of the District Science Fair, then followed by a presentation of the winners who went on to compete at the County Science and Engineering Fair last March. We would like to recognize our special guest, Mrs. Jamie Mullion, Board President, and board members, our District Superintendent, Tracy Kern, and District Cabinet members attending, our elementary school principals, parents, and other members of the community. Thank you all for attending our virtual District and County Science Fair Awards Ceremony.
Now, we will announce the District Science Fair winners. First, we want to congratulate all the students who earned their place here at our district level science fair. We have competed against many amazing projects. We will start with 4th grade. First place, Rethink Your Drink by Gabrielle Rios. Tumbling Towers by Queen Peterson. 5th grade, first place, Excellent by William Meeks and Naomi Eikenberry. 6th grade, there were 3 first place winners. When Life Gives You Lemons, Made Plastic by Liam Castillo. Dustbusters by Michael Robinson. Does Music Affect Productivity by Andres Saldaña and Dylan Hickox. 7th grade, first place, Plant Poison by Douglas Meeks. And our special award, Best of Show, will go to Dustbusters by Michael Robinson.
The winners that we just announced went to the county competition back in March. We are honored to present the 2019-2020 winners of the Riverside County Science and Engineering Fair held in March. 6th grade, Ruth Brown, 2nd place, silver medal, Dustbusters by Michael Robinson. 6th grade, Ruth Brown, 2nd place, silver medal, Does Music Affect Productivity by Andres Saldaña and Dylan Hickox. 5th grade, Margaret White, 2nd place, silver medal, Excellent by William Meeks and Naomi Eikenberry. 4th grade, Margaret White, 2nd place, silver medal, Rethink Your Drink by Gabrielle Rios. Fourth grade, Ruth Brown, first place, gold medal, Tumbling Towers by Quinn Peterson. In addition, Quinn presented his winning project in the Virtual Science and Engineering Fair Expo in September 2020.
That completes our presentation. This year, our science fair, both district and county, will be virtual. As you know, that presents special challenges for our students. Please support them when and where you can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Tribby.
Thank you, both of you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Mr. Jesse Gutierrez.
Good evening, Jesse speaking.
Hi, Jesse. You're on with the school board. We're ready when you are.
Thank you. I am ready. Let me a second. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for allowing me to go over an update for my department. I provided the PowerPoint, and I'll just go over each slide. So starting off with the second slide, kind of wanted to go over the update and how it's going on. And one and give thanks is to all the support to each and every one of you, as well as every staff employee. Everyone's been really helpful, whether that is Milton, Steve, bus runners, drivers, personnel. Everyone's been stepping up and supporting accordingly. So as you can see with the graph on the right-hand side on the SEC table, it indicates the amount of growth that we've had with the previous model, which was individually wrapped in comparison to the bulk feeding. We've had an increase in participation of 438%. Granted, a big thing that it is important to note is because of the bulk feeding, we can incorporate 4 meals a day, whereas the individually wrapped, we can only have a maximum of 2 based off of the storage that we had. Transitioning towards the next slide, something I do want to mention is the food cost. So individually wrapped items, the food cost was significantly more. It was a challenge to be able to get the specific items because majority of school districts are and were operating with individually wrapped items. Another thing too is we weren't able to offer as many options because the only ones that we were able to get were those that were individually wrapped. So now by transitioning towards the bulk feeding, we cut our food costs significantly. And then transitioning towards the next slide, something I do want to notice and I do want to be able to mention. So I graphed the claims that we got from July of 2018 to the present. This goes over the different programs that we've won. And then so I have each program and then the blue. It's the total combined for the two of them. As you can see, with the bulk feeding, we are increasing the total amount of claim that we're getting back. So each and every month, on average in the past, we got back around $150,000. And now with this last month alone, between the two programs, we made over $500,000. It's a huge increase, and for this current month, we are forecasting and on track to even get more. And the biggest thing about it, it's been incredible, the support from the community, the employees, and everyone as a whole. Something that I do want to note is this. Based off of my program, I can only carry forth and carry over 3 months of operating expenses. So for the National School Lunch Program right now, my operating expenses is approximately $150,000 a month. And for the child care, my operating expenses is give or take around $30,000. However, with the National School Lunch Program, just in the month of November alone, I made $300,000 off of that month, which, in all honesty, I have a chance to carry over a month and a half, and that is already towards the top end. And for childcare, that's where, like I mentioned before, my operating cost was around $30,000. This last month, I brought in over $220,000, which is a huge increase. So what we can do, and what the thing that I have had a chance to go over and observe and assess is, I have an opportunity, an incredible opportunity, to be able to invest back in my department, be able to invest in equipment that we need, as well as food costs. So beginning with food costs, something that I had a chance to do, and starting in January, on January 6th, some of the food options that I will be incorporated are more of a premium option, where we'll have a chance to incorporate avocados, tamales, quinoa, flatbread, so certain things just to increase the options to the community, and we're hoping that that's going to have a positive impact on the turnout in our numbers. If we proceed to the next slide, something also I kind of want to go over and discuss is being able to purchase equipment. So one thing that I want to note is we have a 20-foot by 20-foot cooler that is being constructed and built, and that one should be completed this month. They're giving me a timeline or completed by December 28th. And the incredible thing about it is that cooler is paid solely through grant money. We also had a chance to purchase some tray sealing equipment. And that's something that the goal of mine is, whenever kids come back in person, I want to try to offer as many options to the kids as possible. So something I would like to do is be able to offer them a hot as well as a cold option, meaning they have their standard option, but I would like to incorporate, whether it's a sandwich, a salad, a wrap, bistro box, anything of that sense. So something that we did need to be able to make that a reality is invest in equipment. So fortunately, we were able to get that. I was also able to purchase tablets as well as barcode scanners that we can use at any point during the school year. And the incredible thing about it is, even then, after those expenses, we still have around $80,000 of grant money remaining. So I want to transition to the next slide, which is going to be talking about future equipment purchases. So when it comes to my sites and being able to kind of assess the needs, I feel like the biggest one, in my opinion, is going to be Applebee's. Applebee's, there was a lot of a whole bunch of cuts in the past, and it wasn't constructed originally with everything that was planned. And something that I had a chance to talk and try to assess is being able to get a walk-in cooler and freezer at Applebee's. I got a quote today to be able to construct a walk-in cooler and freezer, and the timeline that I was given by Johnson's is by February, it will cost $47,000. The incredible thing about it is that freezer and cooler can be completely covered through the grant money that we have. I want to be able to invest in oven hoods as well as an oven over there at that site. That as well I can cover with the grant money. By doing so, what I can do is have every site produce the food at that given site compared to being produced at the central kitchen, roof ground, and being transported accordingly. Because even if the driver gets over there as soon as possible, there's time that still takes in order to get the food over there. So the biggest thing to improve the quality is I want to produce everything at each site, and that's something that can really help us out. Transitioning towards the next slide and being able to look at ideas that we can look for the claim money that we have, and something that can help us out, not only immediately, but in like whenever kids are allowed to come back in person, is back in January, I had a chance to see these coolers, which I have on the picture, where it's a milk box, but they have an option to put any sort of sandwiches, snacks, anything on top that we can offer. So the biggest idea in my case is more so incorporating these milk boxes inside of the sites and having two different lines, so kids can choose if they want to go through and grab one of the trays that already comes equipped with the components that we need to claim, and they can go and get a cold meal, like I mentioned earlier, that can include a sandwich, a wrap, a salad. Or they can go in the other line and get the hot meal option. That's something that can help with the line, the wait time for the kids, and something that can help our program overall. I'm looking to getting a second sealing equipment just to assure that we have enough to seal all of the food items at all sites. Something else that I had a chance to assess and look at is our food truck that we have. Within the last year or two, it's been acting up. There's been a bunch of problems that are ongoing. And to purchase a new food truck, it'll cost me at least $50,000 least. And something that I noticed is we still have the previous food truck that's just there, and they basically, in my case, which I don't want to do, is I don't want to spend that much money and then after 10 years having to go back and do the same thing over and over. By being able to I'm looking into one company, and I can get a truck for around $2,000 a month, and that includes maintenance, that includes everything. We'll always have a new truck at all points. I'm still checking for additional options just to assure that this is something that can help out and we don't have an issue with trucks continuously breaking down and then having the need to go out and buy a new truck. Something else I'm looking at too is being able to make equipment updates at each and every site. So any sort of old equipment that we had or things that we can do to enhance the experience for all of the students is a big goal of mine. Something else I really want to do is I'm trying to transition more towards scratch cooking, be able to produce food items in-house. So something I do want to be able to invest in is equipment that's needed because, A, by doing so, the food quality is better and the food cost is lower, and something that can help us out significantly. The last thing, which is just again, something that I know some bigger school districts have done, is they have an electric food cart for the bigger sites where they have a chance to go and reach students and offer the cold options that we have. And it's something that can really help us out just to ensure that kids have a couple options, whether it is inside through a speed line or whether that is via a food cart. So with these are a couple ideas of the equipment purchases and things that I feel like something that can really help me out right now as well as when kids are allowed to come back in person. And as soon as I get more information on the exact cost for each and every equipment, I'll have a chance to inform you all accordingly. But that concludes my presentation. Is there any questions I can answer?
Thank you so much, Jesse. That's great, the information, and it's really encouraging to see the number of kids we're feeding now.
Jesse, have a good evening.
You too.
All right, now we have our high school athletics update with Miss Genevieve Hahn.
Hi, Genevieve. This is Janine. You're on. And start when you're ready.
Okay, good evening. This is Ms. Hahn with Palo Verde High School Athletics. I just wanted to give an update in regards to sports. Since my last update, on November 16th, the California Department of Public Health officially postponed issuing any guidance that would permit youth in high school sports. And if you remember, that was what we were kind of waiting for before CIS could make their decisions. In response to that, on December 1st, the CIS State Office sent out a press release confirming the delay of the fall Season 1 sports season. So for Palo Verde High School Athletics, this means that football, volleyball, cross country, and sideline cheer did not begin as scheduled on December 12th, and we still remain in a holding pattern as we wait for more guidance. Let's see. While Season 1 remains delayed, the CIF State and Section Office has not yet made any adjustments to the master calendar, which dictates the season of sports. If you remember, the master calendar had it set up where this year the sports seasons, instead of 3 seasons, we were divided into 2 seasons, a season 1, which would be our fall sports, and a season 2, which would combine the winter and spring. So they have not adjusted that. As much as possible, the CIF does not want to adjust the calendar in order to protect the spring sports season and that was lost by student athletes last year. So with our current status in the purple tier and with the regional stay-at-home order in place, additional guidance was not expected until January. However, yesterday the California Department of Public Health issued updated guidance for outdoor and indoor youth and recreational sports. This is good news for us and the CIS because it was what we were waiting for in order for the CIS to make decisions. So this document dated December 14th provides guidelines for various sport activities according to their level of contact and transmission risk for outdoor and indoor sport activities. The document also shows what sports are permitted according to the tier status of each county, which aligns to the blueprint for a safer economy. At this time, the CIF is working to review the newly updated guidance and its impact on high school sports before sending out additional updates. The current CDHP guidance states that it will reassess the different colored tier levels for sports by January 4th, so we expect more updates in January. And it also states that the earliest competition date between teams in the state of California would be set for January 25th at the earliest. The document with the most recent guidance shows that different sports may begin at different times. So the CIS is going to take this, look at it, and see what it means for the season. So we still have a lot of uncertainty and unanswered questions. With that, for example, in our current status in the purple for season 1, if we remain in the purple tier, our boys and girls cross country may be eligible to begin. However, our sports of football and volleyball are not permitted until we shift into the orange tier 3. So the document that just came out yesterday, brings some clarity to stuff, but it still needs to be digested by the CIF in order to show the impact on sports. What it shows right now for PV sports, if we remain in the purple tier 1, widespread, individual sports that are low contact, which include cross country, golf, swimming, and diving, and track and field, may be eligible to begin. For the red tier 2, for PV sports, we have our sports of baseball and softball, and those 2 sports, again, aren't till season 2. CIS has made no adjustments to the calendar, so those sports aren't slated to start till March at this time. Outdoor cheer may also begin in the red tier. For football, soccer, and volleyball, those wouldn't be eligible according to the latest document until the orange tier 3. And then in the yellow tier, some of our more high impact contact sports, basketball indoors, wrestling indoors, or indoor cheer or dance wouldn't happen till the yellow tier 4. So it's a lot of information that CIF was awaiting, and so they're excited to have that, especially before the holiday break, but they do got to look at it and kind of see what it means. And of course, we all know that there's still a lot of uncertainty as things continue to change and we approach the holiday season. I would just like to share a couple other items about PV athletics before I take any questions. Our esports club successfully completed their fall season with Pvhs and looks forward to continuing to recruit more students for the spring season, which begins in February. I am also very excited to share that the virtual gold card fundraiser was a huge success. We had an outstanding 115 student athletes who participated, selling 909 total gold cards through the virtual fundraiser in just 2 short weeks. We had 26 students earn prizes, and we are very, very happy to announce that through the efforts made by our Yellow Jackets, PV Athletics raised $9,200. So we're very proud of the Yellow Jackets and their turnout and showing up for that fundraiser. That concludes my presentation, and I'm open to any questions or clarification if anybody has anything.
Any questions? No, I think we're good, Ms. Hahn. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
All right, our next presentation is Secondary Education Reopening Plan for Twin Palms High School. Mrs. Judy Browder.
Hello?
Hi, Judy. You're on with the school board. We're ready when you are.
This is Judy Browder over at Twin Palms, and I am bringing to you our hybrid model for reopening. Right now, we are currently housing about 80 to 100 students at our site. We are all distance learning right now. We have 4 teachers who are on campus, 1 teacher working from home. All students are enrolled in 4 classes per quarter, and they come every day. If students are going to choose the hybrid model, when we have that opportunity, they will take 3 classes in person at the school site and 1 class virtually from home. And that would be every day. If students choose distance learning, so they decide that they're going to stay at home and learn that way, they will continue using the established online learning platform with distance learning teacher guidance from our teacher who is working from home. Each period is going to be about 40 minutes long. And the hybrid model, what we've done is we've decided to have 2 tracks. So we'll have a track A and a track B. And like I said, we have classes every day. So track A would begin at 8:11 in the morning, and it would conclude at 10:17 a.m. Track A would take their last class from home during the afternoon session with the distance learning teacher. So that would be their 4th period class. At 10:17, when the students are dismissed, there will be sanitation. We've worked with the maintenance department, and they would have a little over an hour to sanitize the 4 rooms being used along with our office area and the bathroom. During this time, while sanitation is taking place, we have study hall, which is it would be online through Zoom, and that is just a student support time. So students who need extra tutoring, need extra help with any of the curriculum, can go ahead and Zoom in with their teachers. And that's for all students can go at that time. That would be during, that would be for the distance learning and also for the hybrid students. Teacher's lunch is going to be from 11 to 11:30, and then track B would come to school at 11:38 a.m. They would go until 1:44 p.m. After that, sanitation again will take place to the end of the school day. Track B will take their first class from home during the morning session with the distance learning teacher. So while Track A is at school and they're going in person, our Track B is taking their 1 class in the morning with that distance learning teacher. We would use our distance learning teacher to conduct an online learning system for the students, like I said, who would prefer to stay on distance learning. Now, distance learning would mirror the hybrid schedule with a Track A and a Track B. So Track A would go at the same time, and Track B would go at the same time as the ones who are on hybrid schedule. Study hall, again, would be offered every day at 1:44 to 2:37, and that's where all students can get tutoring from home through their Zoom. At 2:37 to 3:20, we will have teacher prep. And that's kind of how we set it up, and we've made it where both the distance learning and the hybrid mirror each other. So, you know, it can expand and collapse in case that we have to go back to complete distance learning. So we tried to make it work as seamless as possible. That pretty much is just kind of an overview of our program. I know you have the documents in front of you. Are there any questions right now? And just to let you know, so students that are coming back, we would probably have about 10 to 12 students per class. I know it says 8 to 10, but we're expecting more students next quarter, so that number is going to go up a little bit. And we're still going to use our Zoom, Google Hangout for our interventions. And like I said, we'll be using Google Classroom and all the different things that they use right now to support our students. Is there any questions in regards to our hybrid program?
Any questions? No, thank you, Mrs. Browder.
Guys, and have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.
2020-2021 first interim financial report. Mr. Sanchez?
Okay, good evening, Board, Superintendent, and community. I am here to present the 2020-2021 first interim financial report for the school district. So the objectives of the presentation are to communicate our financial certification, briefly examine the areas of the criteria and standards that the district did not meet, look at the MYP, the projection, summary of adjustments, talk briefly about our debt overview, kind of how that's changed since last year, look at enrollment and attendance projections, and then maybe take any questions or comments if any arise. So our financial condition at first interim is positive, meaning that we will meet our financial obligations for this current school year and the subsequent two. So that's going to take us through 22-23. Things to consider, though, in the numbers are that we have rising PERS and STIRS costs. So we just want to keep an eye on what the labor is projected to cost to the district, particularly in the area of benefits. We have 0% COLA projections, so the cost of living adjustments have all been eliminated from this budget and the two out-year projections. The budget projects an unsustainable deficit spending, particularly in year 2 and year 3, and the budget includes one-time funds from the CARES Act. I'm not going to dig too far into this, the criteria and standards, but there were 7 areas that the standards indicated were not met. Concerns related to our P2 ADA enrollment ratio. It just has to do with our attendance projections, but I feel reasonably good about the projections that are in the interim report. The LCFF revenue has changed by more than 2% since budget adoption, and that just has to do with we got an updated LCFF calculator. I put in the numbers, and what came out exceeds the 2% variance, but again, it just kind of is what it is. The ratio of unrestricted salaries and benefits total. So what it's suggesting is that our salaries and benefits are changing by, I think it's more than 5% is the standard in the current and subsequent 2 years. Projected operating revenues are going to change by more than 5%. And again, you have so we've gotten $2.5 million in CARES Act, so that's going to skew the numbers. They're going to go away next year, so I'm backing that out of the budget. There's nothing in there that I'm particularly concerned about. The next one says projected operating expenses for the current and 2 fiscal years haven't changed by 5% since budget adoption. Again, it's just outside the variance, but nothing that I'm, again, particularly concerned about. The last one from the bottom says that we didn't meet the required contribution to the maintenance account, which I have the sufficient amount of budget. I need to talk to RCOE about whether I did something wrong here or not. The maintenance account requires that we set aside 3% of our budget to ongoing maintenance. What I think happened here is the maintenance account had a balance. When we started the school year, it had a balance. So rather than contribute the full 3%, I took the balance and then contributed the difference, and I don't think they like that. But nevertheless, the maintenance budget does have the required 3% in it. I just need to talk to them about whether I can use the beginning balances toward that. And then lastly, the deficit spending warning. We are not projected to deficit spend this year, but in 21-22 and in 22-23, we are budgeted for deficit spending, and I'll show you that in just a second. So for our revenue projections, it just shows the trend since the beginning of the year. So when we came in June, that's the second column, 2021 adopted budget, where our numbers were at. The second or third column in is the 45-day revised budget, and you could see that change by about 9%. And again, it's just the way that the state decided to give us the money. For 21-22, we're going to lose about 1% of our LCFF revenues, and then for 22-23, it stays probably about another 1%. Our federal revenues are going to see the biggest change there. We projected about $6.2 million at adopted budget time, which is high compared to normal years. We normally live in the 3.6 range or so. The 45-day just accounts for more CARES Act. The first interim, most of that is CARES Act, and then when we get from the $7 million to the $8.4 million, we also have CARES Act and a federal carryover. We had about 940-something thousand in carryover that wasn't captured at adopted budget. So that's how we got from the 6.2 to the 8.4. And then in 22-23, I'm just restoring the amounts back to what we consider to be normal. State revenues, by and large, are pretty stable. Not much change there. We did get some state COVID funds, so I'm going to say that that's accounting for the 7% there. Local revenues, pretty stable. And then the very, very bottom row, even though the expenditures aren't on this sheet, it shows how our fund balance is projected to change. So in June, when I came to you guys at adopted budget, we were projecting a $2.3 almost million deficit. The picture and the numbers changed when I came back to you guys, and I think it was August. We were expecting a $292,000 surplus. More funds have come in since that time. We've gotten better information, and so as a first interim, projecting about $1 million surplus this year, and I attribute that again. The CARES Act is kind of helping us in that area right there. Next year, CARES Act goes away. I also project that we're spending down all of our carryover, and so when you take out those funds, we're projected to spend about $2 million more than we have in 21-22, and about 3.3, almost 3.4 million more than we have in 22-23. And I'm not saying that will materialize. What it is just we're going to be wanting to watch at the end of each year, re-examining our staffing levels going into the new budget year, and ideally, as we continue to tweak and update the numbers, in future presentations, I'm hoping that those will decrease. But for right now, that's just the road we're on. If we stay on this road, that's where we're projected to go. Our expenditure projections at adopted budget, the certificated salaries were at about 17 million. They are now at about 14. The certificated salaries, they've gone up a little bit. I have a slide that'll show all the different adjustments, but this is basically where we're at with expenditures. It's important to note that the salaries and benefits take up a significant portion of our budget, 85 to maybe 91, 92%. That's going to be something for the long term we're going to want to dial back. I would say a healthy place for the budget would be about 80 to maybe 85% tops, salary and benefits. Again, nothing, earth-shattering up here. Some of the expenditures are in the 4,000s, the 4,000s to the 4,999s. They are higher than normal. We normally spend about, in the 2 out years, you could see the 1.3 million, 1.35. That's about normally where we're at with materials and supplies. But again, this budget at the 3 million reflects carryover and CARES funding. the capital outlay budget is up a little bit this year, quite a bit actually, but we're looking at the LTE network. The buses, I put, I think, another bus in the transportation budget. So that's most of what that's, where that's coming from. And then again, the bottom there just has the totals. And the main thing to watch is that, like I said, this year we're okay, but next year and the year after, we are definitely deficit spending, most likely. Contributions, this is the general fund of contributions to encroaching programs. So these are the programs that we operate, but we don't get enough revenue to operate them. So special education is by far the program that we contribute the most to. What this is basically saying is that the special education program costs us about $3 million more than what we receive in revenue. The routine restricted maintenance program, we don't get revenue for that at all. That's the program I spoke about a little bit earlier, where we have to give 3% of our budget. So that's just going to be that way every year. Transportation, we're about $1 million short of what we receive in state funding. The state gives us about $700,000 or so in transportation, maybe $710,000. And between the two programs, we spend about $1 million more than that, maybe $1,100,000 or so. And then so the bottom line totals there show our contributions to the either restricted or encroachment programs. Our ending fund balance projections, probably among the more important numbers here. So our the ending fund balance is projected to be 10.9, almost 11 million. That's the numbers at the very bottom. And then in terms of how we get to that 10.9 million, we have 128,000 or so in inventory and or like revolving accounts, those kinds of things, petty cash, not petty cash, but revolving account is the best way to say it. Our restricted balance is about 1.3 million this year. We're keeping 500,000 aside as we expect we're going to receive a bill from OPSC. We were certain we were getting it, and then COVID happened, and we haven't quite heard from them yet, but I don't know us to be off the hook, so I'm holding that. We have scale revenues we're holding on to, but not for much longer. There's an MOU on the board tonight, I think, that's going to allow us to go ahead and settle up with scale. We have our 3% reserve. There's an extra comma in the first year, but our 3% reserves for each of the 3 years, 1.3 this year, 1.23 next year, and then 1.26 in the last. And then the other assignments is the remainder of the fund balance that, from my perspective, we use to fund the out-year obligations, and you'll see it dwindle. In the current year, our other assignments balance is about 7.5 million, and then it dwindles to 6.3, and then it dwindles to 3.5, and that's reflective of the budgeted deficit spending. So again, the balances are projected to be there when we finish our year 3, and hence the positive certification. But I would encourage us at the end of each, as we approach rather the next budget season, to look closely at our salary, our labor, and make sure that we're staffed appropriately. These are the adjustments by major object area. So we reduced the certificated by 164,000. We increased the classified salaries by about 41,000. Decreased the benefits by 421, and that's just budget adjustments. What I think happened there is when we were doing financial transfers, normally when you take from a salary or add to a salary, you should also take or add to the benefits. And as we were reducing the salaries throughout the year, we weren't doing the corresponding reductions to the benefits, so I just captured that all at first interim. But let me see. So we're projecting about less than, or 354,000 less than what we had projected at the last budget period for materials and supplies. And really, all this amounts to is just reallocating budget to where we need it. Services went up about 21,000 since adopted budget. The capital outlay went up about 554. Again, that's the LTE school bus. the total adjustments, when you net them all together, we reduced the budget by $322,667. We reduced our revenues by about $134,000. We took a pretty good hit in the LCFF, is where the bulk of that was when it. And our ending fund balance is projected to increase $188,000 from the start of the year to first interim. The debt picture, we still have debt, but it's off of the general fund balance sheet. The capital lease that we had through Climatech, we've actually, like middle school, which we're completing, I think, like in the next couple days. We were on the hook for, actually, we didn't have to pay any rent this year because we paid it at the beginning of the year. So what we've been on the hook for from June to December are the maintenance costs for the building. And again, we only had to pay half a year of those, so there's some savings there. Our COP debt, that's the certificates of participation. That was by far our biggest balance of what I would call the dangerous debt. So we've transferred that into an escrow account that is served by Fund 21, and it will still be paying on it for a few more years, but it's not anything that will be felt in the general fund budget. And then our bond debt is served by local property tax. So this will be the first year, I don't know in how long, that the district hasn't had to service debt from the general fund. So that's quite exciting. And hopefully we can stay that way. And then lastly, our attendance and enrollment projections. It just kind of shows where we're at with enrollment, ADA, and then the unduplicated. And it doesn't decline significantly, but it nevertheless, we decline by between 1% and 2% per year is what we project. We had a little bit of help from spring to now with the closure of the private school. Our enrollment did not decline the way we had projected. And I'm going to attribute that event to kind of helping cushion our numbers up. So this year, we went from 2878 to 2832, and that's not terrible in the grand scheme of things. We're going to continue to experience declining enrollment trends. It's going to put negative pressure on our attendance, on our unduplicated counts, and the revenues. And the last couple times I've been up here, I had made a point to call the board's attention to the unduplicated count. The unduplicated funding is primarily what drives our supplemental and concentration grant award. And I was concerned going into 2021 because where the attendance, we were in a hold harmless for attendance. So like if our attendance drops this year, we get like a free pass from the state. We don't get that with the unduplicated count. If our unduplicated count falls, then our funding falls. And they use a 3-year average, so it's not like we would hit, absorb the hit all in 1 year, but it will eventually catch up to us. And so I had been kind of beating the drum that getting as much of the information that we could about our students to make sure to see if they qualify for unduplicated count was very important. And I'm excited to report that the state has kind of relaxed some of the rules for how we get this data. And Lois, the high school, who else can I share the credit with? The office at all the sites. Lois is kind of leading the process, but they've done an excellent job of getting a hold of the families and trying to recoup. It's not even recoup. It's get the information about our students that we need. Ultimately, that's what was happening is we weren't getting all of the information about our kiddos. And so they've been attacking it for about the last probably 2 months, and I feel like it's paying dividends, right? You know how many kids you guys have captured roughly?
Just in the last week, we captured an additional 28 kids.
Yeah, and so that translates to real dollars. So I'm just excited and kind of pleased to report that we've made some progress in that area. And I think that's about it for the report. Like I said, we're okay. We need to watch our cash. We're probably going to do the TRAN. I think I have us projected at the end of this year with maybe 800,000 or 900,000 in cash, which is a little too close for comfort. So we'll still be chasing that. But like I said, I see us, doing okay for the 2 years, but we definitely, from now until 2023, need to watch our staffing, would be my advice. Any questions?
I just had one. The state deferred payments to us, and I forget when they were supposed to pay.
They're supposed to start the deferrals in February, and I'm hearing they may not be that bad. Like, I mean, as we go forward in time, the picture kind of changes, but the deferrals, my understanding, begin in February and end in June. So they're going to defer February, March, April, May, and June. They'll defer 5 payments. And then what'll happen is they'll start paying it back in July. So what we didn't get in February, they're supposed to give us July's payment plus February's payment. And then when we get to August, they should give us August payment plus March payment. And then so on until they catch up.
So we shouldn't have to go out for more money like we did a few months ago?
We haven't gone down that road yet. Probably at the next board meeting, I think I'm going to be bringing the TRAN information to you guys. And the last conversation we had is we were going to take like a $1.9 maybe million loan, and this isn't long-term loan. Like, we will have this loan paid back in just a few months. It's not like the debt I was talking about a minute ago. We'll probably would maybe borrow the money in like February, and I think we would have it paid off by like November or something like that.
Thank you.
Questions? No?
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Sanchez. All right. For our hearing session, there's nothing to report. All right. Reports and communications, our board member report. Dr. Goof?
Nothing to report.
Ms. Gutierrez? Nothing to report. Ms. Esquivel? No. And I have nothing to report. The superintendent's report.
The district office moved to the old Blythe Middle School at 825 North Lufkin will be finalized by the end of the day this Friday, December 18th. We are a few weeks ahead of schedule thanks to the awesome teamwork from the FMOT department and the district office staff. So I want to thank all staff for supporting this move. It has gone very well. So that's my report.
All right, and we have no reports of associations this evening. All right, for our organizational meeting, Ms. Kern will take this over now.
Nomination for the position of president. As superintendent of schools, I will accept nominations for the position of president of the board. Upon election, the new president will assume the regular duties of president. Nominations for president of the board, please.
I move Jamie Mullion be president of the board.
We have a motion for Jamie Mullion, first and second, and do we have a vote?
Any other nominations? Hearing no further nominations, by acclamation.
So no further nominations. Jamie Mullion, president of the board. Nominations for the position of vice president. As superintendent of schools, I accept nominations for the position of vice president of the board. Upon election, the new vice president will assume the regular duties of vice president. Nominations for vice president of the board. Okay, any other nominations? The nomination was for Sunny Hernandez, a first and a second. Any other nominations? Okay, Sunny Hernandez is vice president of the board. Nominations for the position of clerk. As superintendent of schools, I accept nominations for the position of clerk of the board. Upon election, the new clerk will assume the regular duties of the clerk. Nominations for clerk of the board.
Martha.
Nominations for Martha Gutierrez, or is there any other nominations? Okay. Martha Gutierrez has been nominated for Clerk of the Board. Appointment of board member to represent the board of the annual county committee. The governing board of each school district of every kind or class shall annually, at its initial meeting, select one of the members as its representative, who shall have one vote for each member to be elected to the county committee on school district organization. I accept nominations for the appointment of a member to represent the board at the annual county committee on school district organization election.
Good with it, I'd like to appoint Dr. Guth again. Here.
Nominations for the appointment for Dr. Guth. Any other nominations? Okay, Dr. Guth has been appointed to represent the board. Okay, I hand this back over to the board president, Jamie Mulligan.
As alternative authorized agent for the district. Appointment of Mr. Milton Sanchez, Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, as the alternate authorized agent for the district. Call for a motion? Aye. Any opposed? N6, appointment of District Supervisor of Attendance pursuant to California Education Code 48240. It is necessary for the governing board of a school district to appoint a supervisor of attendance for the 2020 year to supervise the attendance of pupils in the school district. Administration recommends that the governing board appoint the Director of Data Assessment and Accountability to hold this designation. Among other duties, the supervisor of attendance will raise the awareness of school personnel, parents, guardians, caregivers, community partners, and local businesses of the effects of chronic absenteeism and truancy and other challenges associated with poor attendance. Favor? Aye. Any opposed? N7, purchase orders, authorized signing agent. It is recommended for approval that Mr. Milton Sanchez, Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, be authorized to sign purchase orders in accordance with prescribed board policy and internal control procedures, limited to the occasions when the superintendent is absent from the district. Call for a motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? N8, purchase orders, authorized signing agent, up to $3,000. It is recommended for approval that Mr. Milton Sanchez, Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, and Ms. Lois Schaefer, Director of Data Assessment and Accountability, be authorized to sign purchase orders in accordance with prescribed board policy and internal control procedures with a limit of $3,000 for any single purchase order. All in favor? Any opposed? N9, warrant orders and orders for salary payment, authorized signing agents. It is recommended for approval that Ms. Tracy Kern, Superintendent, Mr. Milton Sanchez, Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, and Ms. April Smith, Director of Human Resources, be authorized to sign warrant orders and orders for salary payment. All in favor? Any opposed? N10, district and county checking accounts, authorized signing agents. It is recommended for approval that Ms. Tracy Kern, Superintendent, Mr. Milton Sanchez, Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, and/or Ms. April Smith, Director of Human Resources, sign on the following district county checking accounts effective immediately: district transmittal checking account, food services checking account, and district revolving cash account. Call for a motion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? N11, checking and cash accounts, authorized signing agents. It is recommended for approval that Ms. April Smith, Director of Human Resources, be authorized to sign checks for the following accounts, limited to occasions when the superintendent and/or assistant superintendent of business services is absent from the district: the district transmittal checking account, the food services checking account, and the district revolving cash account. Call for a motion?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? N12, notices of employment, authorized signing agents. It is recommended for approval that Mrs. April Smith, Director of Human Resources, Ms. Tracy Kern, Superintendent, and Mr. Milton Sanchez, Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, be authorized to sign notices of employment. Call for a motion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? N13, updates to governance handbook. Call for a motion?
Where are they? I mean, the way, I kind of read that and I thought we'd maybe get a packet of them. Was it just,
Dr. Duke, the only update, we're changing over from Sam to Diana, with changing the names of the board members in the packet.
Yeah, changing the names for the board members of the packet, just updating the information on the handbook. Okay.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? N14, the calendar of regular meetings of the governing board for 2020, 2021. 2021, sorry. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, consent items. All right, consent item 01, minutes. Call for a motion?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. 02, personnel report number 2020-21-08. Call for a motion?
Madam President, a point of order? Could you just read the title of all of the consent agenda and then we vote on it in one fell swoop?
Just separate out the personnel reports for our new board member this evening, and then we'll be doing that. All right. So on 02, Mrs. Escobar abstains. Call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, now I would call for consent items 03 through 09.
Moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Action items. P1, public hearing of AB 1200 disclosure of collective bargaining agreement with California School Employees Association. Public hearing opens at 25? No, 7:25. 7:25. Those wishing to make a presentation may do so at this time. Public hearing closed at 7:26. P2, approval of the 2020-2023 successor contract tentative agreement between Pvhs and CSEA dated October 23rd, 2020. Call for a motion?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? 3, approval of the 2020-2021 first interim financial report as amended. Call for a motion to approve as amended. Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. P4, approval of 2020-2021 PVUSD LCFF budget overview for parents. Call for a motion. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? P5, approval of Scale Leadership Academy first interim financial report for 2020-2021. Call for a motion?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? P6, approval of 2020-2021 Scale LCFF budget overview for parents. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? P7, approval of resolution number 202021-12, award of contract for immediate procurement of equipment to supplement existing CNG delivery. Call for a motion? Questions or comments?
I have a question.
Okay.
I believe this is the right one. We just advertised it in the local newspaper, right?
Correct.
Is there anyone in this community that provides that kind of equipment?
in the community, no. I actually even know of only one in the region that does it, which is the Clean Corps. To my knowledge, they're the only authorized kind of service representative that's even around.
Would it have been worthwhile or typical to maybe put it in the San Bernardino Sun, Riverside
No,
Press
you know,
Enterprise, or would it just been a waste of time if there's only one person?
I'm of the belief that these companies kind of scour the public notices anyway, regardless of what paper they're in. So I typically just put it in the local paper. I suppose, I mean, you know,
I just kind of couldn't see that big of a company scanning the Palo Verde Times.
no, what I think happens though, and I'm not 100%, but I think there's like clearinghouse database that have the public notices. That's my thought process on it. Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, you'll recall when we did the ACs, I had to go out 5 times. I think it's just kind of hard being Blythe. I don't know if that's part of it, you know, and this is far more specialty than the AC project was.
365,000 I thought was worth more than the Palo Verde Times, but
Fair enough.
I understand what you're saying.
Do you know who installed the existing system?
The same company.
Same company?
Yeah, this is the same company that did the city yard, both compressors. So he knows the system very well.
Came out twice. He installed one part and then he came out again and did the second
Yeah,
part.
they did that. So, yeah, way back in the beginning, they put that Ingersoll Rand, the smaller one, and then you're right, he came back probably like, I don't know, somewhere around 2010, and they put in that bigger Bauer one. And so what we want to do is we're going to take the old Ingersoll Rand out and put in the bigger Bauer, so there's 2 big Bauer stations there.
Any other questions? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? P8, approval of purchase installation agreement with Clean Core. Call for a motion? Comment?
I have a question on that one. Let's see. Oh, did we have to go to bid on that?
That's the same, so this is the same thing.
It's the
So
same
what-
one?
Yeah, so what the resolution is, because we went out to bid and because no one responded, that resolution is basically saying that, because we went to bid and because no one responded, we're gonna take the quote that we have. So these are kind of just, they come together in tandem. So the first time you were approving the resolution, saying this is why we're doing it, and then this is actually approving the agreement to do it.
Okay. I'm thinking in the back of my mind, it leaves us open if we didn't go out to bid for it.
But we did.
Oh, we did go to bid?
Yes, we did, but no one responded. Both of these are the same.
Okay,
The first one is just the legalese language saying that we went out to bid and nobody responded. And since no one responded, per that Graydon case, I think it was Graydon v. Pasadena, we can proceed. So that's the first resolution that you guys just approved. Now that you approve the resolution, you'll approve the agreement with the company to put the compressor in.
Any other questions or comments? No? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? P9, approval of MOU with Scale Leadership Academy for Special Education Services 504. Call for a motion?
is this the same MOU, just continuing?
So in our operational contract, there was verbiage regarding special ed services. We are oversight for Scale for special education services. And this allows, an additional MOU allows a pass-through to occur so that the funding can get passed through, and we reserve a certain percentage for oversight. And so then it's helpful to have that into place.
Comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? P10, approval of agreement number IN 70013, instructional services through Riverside County Superintendent of Schools Community School Program. Call for a motion. Questions or comments?
I have a question on that one too. I thought, somewhere on here, it said that, let's see, we're gonna have to pay, but don't they generate their own ADA?
Yeah, so I'm going to let Edward kind of explain all of the nuances with us getting the community school to this place.
We have to issue or issue conversation with the county we are and have been providing services to the population, special ed specifically, and also Pvhs, and we can get assessment fees. They deal with, about $3,000 for services, and we provide those services. So we've been going back and forth for about a year and a half now, but because we had signed a previous agreement, we went back for that agreement, so it ended, so this is the new agreement. However, since we've been having those conversations, they've now taken over the responsibility, they are paying $20,000. So really not the $20,000 for them to provide. So, 2 weeks ago, they took on all the responsibility, to provide our services, we also
They're doing what we've been paying them to do in the first place. All right, any other questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Approval 2020-2021, agreement for mental health consultant services.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? P12, approval of American Security Group software quote. Call for a motion? Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? P13, approval of annual renewal of services in the Super Co-op for 2021-2022. Call for a motion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? P14, request to purchase instruments for the elementary music program. Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Discussion information items. Discussion, Pvhs athletic field complex. Ms. Kern or Milton?
Yeah, I'll speak to this one. Good evening again, everyone. We kind of just wanted to come to the board to, I don't know, I think bring an issue kind of to the surface, kind of hopes that spurs a conversation and ultimately provides us with some direction. And where it's coming from is when we started to look closely at the sports field lighting project, we went out back to just kind of see where everything, was going to be and starting to try and envision things. We really, we got to thinking that this might be a good opportunity to kind of revamp it's the back end of the high school, where our baseball field, softball field, the old school farm, there's a practice field back there. I just feel like this might be the opportunity for us to, if we're going to invest in lighting, to maybe look bigger picture at does the rest of the complex there complement, the upgrades. And Tracy, feel free to elaborate on anything that I'm missing. But, we went and walked it a couple times, started getting, maybe some ideas of what is possible. But obviously, we don't want to make any sort of significant investment without the board either being on board or providing input.
Yeah, so we're wanting direction from the board because we think that with the arena and the barn, moving the equipment, that it's opportune time to really do improvements to the athletic complex at Palo Verde High School in that back area and do some upgrades. And really, it would be cost-effective if we can use our own staff members. We've purchased equipment that will allow us to do that. So we kind of need direction of the board. If you're okay with moving in that direction, we could possibly get a committee to come together to try to do improvements to that athletics field back there.
I mean, it could be things like there, a parking lot, not necessarily a big parking lot, but like right now, like if you've been to a softball game, everybody just kind of parks, wherever. So we're thinking maybe a parking area, maybe restrooms, lighting the paths, like after dark. I've not been out there after dark, but my understanding is that it gets pretty dark. Anyone who's been on the school farm would probably know that. So we were thinking maybe, lights along the pathways, just sprucing the area back there up. But before we considered making any kind of investment like that, we just, some input.
Well, I'd like to see a list of ideas.
Okay.
Because, first of all, parking lots to me would be out because you don't want nobody back there to begin with, even though our softball team. I mean, we got plenty of parking in the front because you run over the grass. If there's no parking, they park on the grass,
Yeah.
and they destroy it. And so things started getting destroyed. But, maybe some night lighting or stuff like that, especially when we're going to start having lights at the softball and maybe some lighting. Basically, I think what it needs back there is cleanup, maybe plant some more grass or something like that. But I'd like to see a list of ideas.
Okay.
And then we can go from there.
Okay.
Went and walked back there, and as Sunny stated, it's a lot of cleanup, taking down the old ag facility that needs to be taken down. And if you were talking about a parking lot, really that could be your parking area. It's fenced. It would be gravel when you were done. And again, a lot of cleanup. But I guess for me, it was I was out there in the evening, and there's so much potential there. Mm-hmm. Your view is amazing out of the back of our high school. You see the valley, it's a great view. And the fact that we would have the possibility, without spending a huge amount of money, to make it a complex. And again, for me, I think our students need to be able to have that pride in where they play sports. We're working on uniforms, working on doing these things for the kids and the students at the high school. We worked on the ag facility and improving that, actually just making it even safe. So the ability to provide a benefit to another large group of our students at the high school. Our athletics make up a huge number of students that are involved. And even some of the things are little, new backstops, putting new wood in the backstops, putting roofs on, your dugouts. And like you said, a lot of it just takes some Roundup and a weed eater.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For me,
Okay.
being out there probably would be having bleachers and some shade or something for parents and the.
Okay, so we'll work on that list. I think that might be the place to start, is to go back there and just kind of dream and brainstorm and write a few things down, and then we'll come back to you with if
And we could, if once we get that too, set up a workshop for everybody to come in, so we could discuss it in detail if that,
Yeah.
if that was feasible for everybody.
Yeah, so for the direction of the board, if we could possibly form a committee, look at all the upgrades and maybe projected costs associated with it, bring it to a workshop so we can then have a better vision moving forward. Do we have that direction?
Thought occurs to me, there's some individuals in town that have been very involved in the athletic programs. I can think of several just without naming them right off. If we could get a few members of the community to assist the administration, I'm not sure that the board has that capability unless any individual board member might want to sit in on it.
I know where you're going with it. We have a baseball coach in the family, so maybe we bring that person in to give that input.
That's what I
Yeah,
was thinking.
yeah.
Okay.
Community members to help with this process. Very much for that.
Advisory, kind of an advisory. Right. Not, they won't make the decisions, but advisory.
Okay, next we have the discussion, the update on the CTE building process. Mr. Sanchez?
Yeah, so I kind of, again, just kind of want some direction here. We, in previous board meetings, kind of sounded like we want to hold off on the CTE building, until we see how other things are playing out. But there's the issue, and what I'm bringing up to you is that we're already kind of on the hook for the architecture fee. The estimated architecture fee for designing that building is $638,300. We've already paid $191,490 of that, and the architect has since done additional work that totals $223,550. Now that'll leave about 1/3 left, and I guess the question is, do we stop here, pay the architect $400 of $600,000 and get nothing for it, or do we go ahead and pay the entire $638,300, get a design that we could use for DSA, and kind of just hold on to that design as paid off until we decide what to do? So I guess I don't know if I'm articulating this well, but we would essentially, if we stop now and halt everything, we would spend $400,000 and not really get anything back for it because we still owe $200. So,
But wasn't it the last time, has he done any more work since the last time he gave a presentation?
here's the invoice says, I'm going to read you the invoice. It says the project is on hold as of August 2020, but what he's claiming is that as of that date, he had done, the $414,000 worth of work. We had already paid him $193, so he's telling us we owe him.
I don't see that 50%, even 50% for one good reason. There is no detailed plans. How could he even give us that figure when there hasn't been no engineering? There hasn't been, any grading plans. There hasn't been anything. So how does he come up with that over 50%?
It says this: description of work completed to date, design and design development complete, and construction documents complete. This project on hold as of August 2020, ready of DSA submittal. And what he's saying is he's contending that he's completed 65% of the work.
Well, personally, I haven't seen it. All I seen was a plot plan of the existing building and a floor plan. But because I requested other stuff before, and he said he had to produce it. So we told him to stop at the last board meeting. So I don't know how he's coming up with 65%.
Okay.
It would be, potentially, it would have been at the back side of the new barns. It was it was potentially new construction that we said we put a complete stop on it with the architects
In August.
almost 6 months ago.
Right. It would be like where the racquetball courts are at the college, somewhere right there. Yeah, is where it's intended to go. But I guess where I'm at is, we've driven 2/3 of the trip. Do we want to turn around and go home, or do we want to pay it off, own the plan?
The plans, we bought what he has. The plans are ours as if we
Right.
have to pay him. They can be used by another architect because the plans belong to us. It's like us giving us a copy of our school sites to an architect to design it different. But my thing is, if we're going to pay anything, I want to see it detailed and verification on that he did spend this money to do so much work. I mean, I'm just not going to take somebody's word and say, oh, I did we did this and this, and I've had to pay the engineers for the grading plans, and we had to do a soil test. Get all that information and get the receipts or the billing amounts. I mean, I don't believe it.
So you want itemized of how we got
And
there?
I want verification.
Okay.
Because,
Paid him off for this amount. It would be done, and it would be submitted to DSA?
We would still have the submittal fee. What we would have is a complete set of plans. Where assuming we make the payment that they claim we owed, we would still owe about 30% on the whole invoice. So whereas we may own that work, but it's incomplete work. So I'm just, do we want to buy incomplete work and stop and not make it'd be about $200,000 at the end, or do we want to just pay off the whole thing, the whole 638, own the completed plans, and then figure out what to do from there?
If he's claiming that it's ready to submit to the Division of State Architect, that means all the grading and all the building, all the light plugs,
Well,
everything.
what he's saying is he's 65% there. He's claiming that he's completed 65%. So we've already paid $191,490. This current invoice is for $223,550. So you would add those two numbers together and subtract the $638,300 would be the balance. I think it's around $200,000, give or take.
So didn't he say that it was ready, that the plans in their current state are ready for DSA approval?
No, we're 65%. What he's saying are the plans are 65% complete, and as a result, we owe 65% of the money. That's where he's at. So what I'm asking is, do we go all the way in at 100, because there's going to be another $200,000 or so coming at us in probably a few months.
The only problem with paying the full amount, even though, let's say you pay it all off and he gives you everything. Well, it still doesn't do us any good, because the changes are still gonna have to be made. If it goes DSA, who's gonna make the changes? He's gonna say, no, I'm not gonna do anything. You can't use my stuff to make these changes, because basically you take it to another architect and you have to get something in writing from the existing architect that he can use all his information. And will he allow that to happen? You see, there's a lot of issues still that is going on here, and I don't see, and why didn't he send the bill in earlier when he was at a certain other percentages? I mean, I just personally don't see it.
And we've asked him multiple times on every project that we've had, we need a detailed, itemized, exactly what he's done to this point and where he's come up with those numbers, just like on all the others. And then we'll really have to take a hard look at it, because realistically, that building is pie in the sky. That is maybe someday, if ever.
Mhm.
I don't think any of us felt like it was feasible anytime in the near future, even with the possibility of having matching funds. So I would tell Jimmy that we got to have more information, just like we have been telling him the entire time.
Okay.
When it came in with estimated cost of $12 million, we said, whoa, that's way over.
Yeah.
And that was even way before.
This one is billed out. He's projecting the cost of construction at $9,180,000, and then when you look at how he calculates his fees, he's calculated $638,300 to design it. He's claiming he's 65% of the way finished. We owe $414,895. We've already paid the $191,490, so we owe $223,550.
I think we need to get the documentation, and then we need to get somebody to verify that is 65%. We need to get somebody professionally to say, oh yeah, he has done 65%.
He did mention something like that,
Yeah.
and I remember that too, where he said we would just finish designing it, and if at some point you guys we decided to go to DSA, we would pay. And I don't remember if this was that, but I do remember what you're saying. It makes
What's that?
right. I think I'm inclined to agree with you.
Is,
From the architect, and he's also going to be presenting to the board, and so then we can get more clarity at the next board meeting.
board, okay, is it the intent of the board that this complex be finished with the bond money?
Well, so what we were counting on when we went down this road is we applied for a CTE facilities grant, and we used Jack Schrader and Associates as consultants to write the grant for us, but the score came in short. I think it was like a 105 we got, and you needed a 116 or something. I don't remember how short we fell, but we fell a little bit short, and so we didn't get the funding. And then and we were counting on that, maybe supplementing it with some bond funds, but when you take that CTE funding away, like Jamie said, we're pie in the sky.
And we still qualify for potential funding in the future. We're on the waiting list. We had we had a score that we just fell under, but it was still a good enough score.
It qualified,
to
yeah.
potentially still have funding in the future. So we're a little bit in limbo on this project because of how the funding fell, even though we're still kind of on the waiting list for the next round of funding. And the commitment, what does the board want to do in terms of the commitment in finishing these plans, the cost for that commitment, and are we going to realize that in the future? So those are things to consider with the CTE plans and project.
Everything that's been built, can it be used? Is it complete enough to be used?
The plans?
Yeah.
Sonny may be in a better position to answer this. What this invoice says is that the plans are 65% complete. I don't know enough to, about that, like to.
5%, it's not usable. It won't be approved at 65%.
And then that's where my question comes in. Are we 400,000 in and turn around, or are we 639,000 in and have a plan?
Well, I think we need somebody to look over his.
Where we're at right now,
where we're at.
work in progress.
And I don't know how you would handle it, but it's up to him to show that he has done this work, and that's what you usually do when you get an invoice. You usually attach, everything that you've done, and who you use as the subcontractors, who are your engineers, who your civil, your mechanical, all those engineers. If he only did 65%, he hasn't paid off those engineers yet.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. It just comes as a shock because I especially when we told him that the price of the building was way over what we had budgeted for. So I don't know. I think we need to get some verification of what he just spent.
Okay, I'll get a hold of him tomorrow, get as much backup as I can. We'll share it with superintendent and.
It would be nice if we had that information before the meeting when he comes if he's gonna come in January. It'd be nice if we were able to review what he's done and, if the board was able to take a look at the actual numbers before then, so that we could have questions for him at that time.
So are you directing me to hold this completely? Because I know, like, on their end, their year end is coming, so I know I feel like I'm in the middle, and
Well, he's, in good faith, he has submitted his bill for the work that he's done up to this point.
So are
He's
you
claiming that.
Are you comfortable that if I verify that 65% is there, then we would pay the invoice up to 65%?
I don't see how we can.
I don't either. I mean, we have a
No,
contract with him.
I don't see how we can not pay it.
No, that's what I don't either. That's what I agree with you. We have a contract with him too.
I don't know what the
He has.
contract is, and I don't know if if he's going under the estimated cost to determine his wages, because remember, he works off a schedule.
Yeah,
how
it's
he gets paid.
yeah 9% of 500, 8.5 of 500. Yeah, I see it's right here.
Yeah, and it's typical.
Right.
But, verification is his responsibility to the person who is.
Right, understood.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just surprised because, first of all, how many payments have we made to him?
On this invoice, one, but this is one of.
That's since how many? Normally you get more increments and all.
Oh no, I got another one for 59,000 for the security project. This
No,
is
but
just
I'm talking
CTE.
about this project.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm not, this project.
To my knowledge, this is the second invoice on this
Yeah,
project.
see, and to me, that's kind of strange because you do it in closer increments to be able to pay off those people that you hired to help you with this project. I don't know. To me, I don't feel comfortable. There's something wrong.
Madam President,
I remember that.
okay, if we have a number, when we asked for the state to pay for it, and we got a number, 116 or something, or,
I think we got 105. Yeah.
okay, we got that number. What did we submit to get to that number?
So that was more, I think, I don't think that had anything to do with like,
The plans?
I mean, I'm sure they were, Jack Schrader was working with Jimmy, but we were in a much more preliminary state at that time. I think a lot of it is our demographics, you know, the story, you know, of the plan. I think all of that weighed in too. And like Superintendent said, we have a qualifying score. It's just at the lower end. So we're not, you know, first in line for that funding.
In a time of complete economic.
Right,
advance.
right, exactly.
Completed set of plans and submitted it, that we'd be in a better position to score higher.
Well, yeah, but to pay, and then to me, it's kind of like he's got you, he's saying, so I want that money. But I just want verification because I don't.
No, understood.
And that should come anyway with his invoice. I mean, you don't go to a client and then say, oh, here, you owe me this, and just say, oh, this is how much you owe me, without showing kind of
The evidence.
What the work you had really
Okay,
done.
I hear you.
Okay, I don't know, I just don't feel comfortable.
Good.
Any other questions? Thank you, Milton.
So are we leaving it at, we're not going to pay any more at this point?
So what I'm gonna do is ask him for the backup on the 65%. If they produce that backup, then I'm thinking, I agree with you. We have a contract. We owe the man the money. We'll pay the money. What I will do is hold off on the last third until we get better direction when he comes next meeting.
Makes sense. All right. Discussion, COVID-19, local, county, and state updates to the impact to in-person instruction. We have a little packet that goes along with that.
Did you see that? Did you see? You gotta watch this. Look at that. I just gave Milton a shower. It went all over Milton. Ready? Watch again. You ready? Oh, I know. I'm sorry. All right. I just want to give you an update of COVID-19 numbers for the state, the county, and for Blythe. Is this on? It's, yeah. So for California, my first little picture here is from November 16, 2020, and there were 16.5 new cases per 100,000 in California. The second picture on the right is from December 8th, just last week, and there were 34 new cases per 100,000. And now today, here in California, there are 63.9 new cases of COVID per 100,000 each day. And you can see in the picture up here how much is purple, tier 1, and there's a really small note, I don't know if you can read it at the bottom, 99.9% of the California population is now in the purple tier.
What?
Is now in the purple, the most widespread tier. 99.9% of California. There are only 3 counties that are not. So a quick graph showing new cases per day per 100,000 over the last month. 16.5. Last week it was 34. Today it's 63.9 cases per 100,000. Now when we look at Riverside County data, from November 16th, there were 21.1 new cases per 100,000 with an adjusted rate of 22.4. The adjusted rate is how the state makes up for lack of a better word, if there's enough testing or not. So obviously they didn't feel like there was enough testing. Last week, December 8th, we had in Riverside County 49 new cases per 100,000, an adjusted rate of 47.8. Today in Riverside County, There are 92.2 new cases per day per 100,000 people, and the adjusted rate is 65. Remember a while back when I first presented to you on the tiers, if there are 7 or more cases, we're in the purple tier. Riverside County has an adjusted rate of 65 cases per 100,000. That's what I was thinking too, Dr. Guth. What are we doing here? So again, looking at those numbers, 21, 22, 49, 47, 92, 65. It's increasing over the last month in Riverside County. Now for some Blythe data, I jump back a little further. In September, there were 351 cases, 331 recovered, so there were 20 active cases. In October, it had gone up about 3 weeks later, 389 cases, 368 recovered, so there were 21 active cases. So it was kind of holding even for those couple months, that time there. November 30th, Blythe has 493 cases, 414 are recovered, so there are 79 active cases. We jumped to December 9th, 564 cases, 416 recovered, so about 148 active cases. Now, let's look at Blythe today. 626 cases, 422 recovered, so about 204 active cases. So again, when you're looking at the numbers, you can see the climbing here in Blythe. You can, the yellow at the right of each one, the difference between new cases and recovered cases, you can see how it's climbing. So how this impacts PVUSD, the impact to PVUSD return to in-person instruction. We're working on a school reopening plan, and we're updating it with recently released California Department of Public Health guidance. We're working on a school waiver application, updating, finalizing, and we'll be sending it to Riverside County Public Health very soon. We're continuing to work with employee associations for MOUs for in-person instruction, and we're monitoring. When these local COVID infection numbers are greatly reduced and stabilized, PVUSD will make informed decisions regarding in-person instruction, beginning with small cohort groups. I think that's my last slide. It is. Do we have any questions?
I'm just curious. You said on that one of your slides, 626 were infected, and the one that says in Blythe.
Yes.
And then you said 204 recovered. Is that what that?
422 recovered.
Does that mean everybody else died?
No, that means they're still sick. And actually, it's funny that you said that, Sonny, because I really think my math is a little bit off. 626 confirmed cases, 422 recovered, and I have to subtract those 7 deaths. So it's really 197 instead of 204. But what that means is almost 200 people from the 92225 zip code from Blythe that have COVID. Whereas we were scared when we had 14 cases. Like, oh my gosh, 8 people in Blythe have it now. 204. And when you look at how many per 100,000, well, we don't have 100,000 in Blythe, so we have high numbers here, and it's spreading, it's around.
Does this include the numbers from after the parade?
This data was released today, and it's a 7-day lag. So that wouldn't it?
Yes, because I know that they had said that after Thanksgiving, the numbers had spiked up and they were waiting for the numbers for after the Christmas parade. So definitely
Yeah.
makes sense. And of course, they anticipate after Christmas for it to be higher, so.
Yeah, so,
The problem with these numbers is that they don't also state that a lot of these numbers are coming from people that are staying here, that are working in the fields, that are coming from like El Centro, Mexicali and stuff like that.
it goes off their zip code.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why, because they're here and
Yeah.
so some of the numbers, I don't know, sometimes.
Lois, do you have any information are being treated. We've got one hospital here and a number of doctors. Are these being treated out of town or here?
I saw a report, probably on, I don't remember where, but today, I saw something about the influx of ICU, how full ICUs are getting, and that Eisenhower their ICU is full, and they're trying to find a place to send patients. And this was it was like a nationwide article, but they called out Eisenhower. But they said that the small hospitals, like our hospital, are used to sending patients out, but they're not finding space for those patients because ICUs are so full, which is why we're on a stay-at-home order right now, because our hospitals across the country, but in California right now, the southern section, Riverside and along west, their hospitals were like at the ICU space was like 2.8% yesterday. 2.8% space still in ICU across the hospitals in the southern region of California. So they're, and having said that, of those 200 active cases, not all of them are hospitalized. There's a person I know who has COVID who's at his house.
We go home, yeah.
Yeah, he's isolating himself at his house until 10 days after his test. He doesn't feel good, he has ups and downs. His oxygen level today was 95%. And a good point, it includes people who are asymptomatic, but who tested positive when they took a test. And remember our school district, we're trying to get every employee tested. We're working really hard at it and doing a great job, thanks to the personnel department, really working at it every 2 months. So I had a COVID test last Wednesday, and I got the results Saturday that I was negative. Someone else could have had the same test, and theirs could have been asymptomatic. I didn't even know I had it, and I had it, type of thing. So.
And a lot of the reasons we also know more of the cases is because we are having, there's more availability for the testing.
Yes, yes. In Blythe, you can get it at Rite Aid, and you can get it at Blythe Mart Pharmacy, or you can get it out of town. I don't know of anywhere else in town.
Get what?
Antigen, they have antigen testing at the hospital, but the PCR testing, which is what we're requiring for our surveillance testing with the district, is either Rite Aid or Blythe Mart Pharmacy in Blythe right now, unless somebody went out of town to get it. Any other questions?
No, thank you, Lois.
Thank you.
All right. Q4, first reading and discussion, board policies, exhibits recommended for update 2020 CSBA policy guide sheet. Questions, comments? All right. Q5, information, CDE federal addendum approval letter. Questions, comments, Tracy?
The letter, the federal addendum was approved.
Right, and Q6, information, the first quarter 2020-2021 Williams Uniform Complaint Report.
Are they still doing those? I mean,
They even did the Williams textbook check, but they did it through surveys rather than coming on.
oh, okay, that's what I was wondering.
But they did come for the.
come for the inspection.
The actual Williams inspection.
I think it was like October, November they came.
All right, other business. Okay, call this meeting adjourned. Next regular meeting, Tuesday, January 19th.